Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. For those of you who don't know me, which I think is a very few, I'm Andy Blum. I'm the Executive Director of the Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice. And I'm just here to welcome you all. The program we're going to hear about today, the people you're going to hear from today, is really near and dear to the Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice. We say that we're the only school of peace studies on an international border. I don't know 100% that that's true, but until someone tells us different, we're going to claim it. And so it is just extremely important for us to work on building a more peaceful and more just border region. And that's what this program is all about. So thank you all for coming. Welcome to our Kroc Border Fellows. Thank you for spending the day here with us. I am really looking forward to hearing more from you about all the great work you do, and really also working with all of you in the future. We talk a lot at the Kroc IPJ about learning with, how to reduce violence in our world, and you are the other part of that equation, the individuals doing great work that we learn with as we do our work. And we always like to say as well that once you have been a fellow, once you have been part of what we do, you are part of our community forever. So you are always welcome back at the Kroc School, at the Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice. So that's all I'm going to say. Again, welcome. Thank you all for coming. And now over to my colleague, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone, who came today. I'm Rebecca Cáceres. I'm Director of Cross-Border Initiatives. And I was a Border Fellow during the first cohort, so it's very special for me to be here and introduce my colleagues and this second cohort of Border Fellows. Just an amazing group of people, practitioners, activists that are on the ground, and they have a long trajectory of doing work on the ground, working to make build a more peaceful region. So how this will work is that I'll introduce each one of them. They're going to talk about their projects over the past year. They've been working on a specific project for their fellowship. And then we're going to do a few questions and open it up to you guys if you have any questions for them. And I'm going to be switching back and forth from English and Spanish, translating for anyone that needs it. So starting with Sique Calderon, Dr. Sique Calderon is a medical doctor. She is also co-director of the NGO Refugee Health Alliance, and she's a professor of medicine at U.S Autonomous University of Baja California. Aida Amador works on the humanitarian crisis along the border and is a coordinator of migrant programs with Via Internacional. She studied communication also at U.S Autonomous University of Baja California. Javier Neftali is the Academy Deputy Director of Benemérita Escuela Normal Urbana, which is a school that trains future teachers. So he's also the president of the Civil Association Children of the Border, and he has a doctorate in educational research and a postdoctorate in migrant education that focuses on school inclusion of children in situations of mobility or migration. On the screen, we have our two other fellows joining us virtually. Carla Ulloa is a social psychologist in charge of operations for Casa del Migrante in Tijuana. She studied at Universidad Iberoamericana in Tijuana and has a background in fundraising for nonprofits in Mexico and in the US. Margarita de Leon has a master's degree in virtual education projects design and has a robust experience as an educator, facilitator, and project manager. She founded the online education program at El Colef and has a communication degree from Universidad Iberoamericana. Carlos, also joining us virtually, is an oceanologist with a master's in comprehensive environmental management. He worked in the General Directorate of Ecology in the state government and has worked as an environmental consultant. He is currently the legal representative of the Center for Research, Conservation, and Education of the Environment in Tijuana. And last but not least, Merichel Calderon Vargas is a human rights lawyer from Baja California, focuses on the defense of rights of women and the LGBTQ+ community and migrants in the northwestern border of Mexico. She writes a column in the newspaper La Jornada called Where the Witches Cross, and serves as a coordinator of the Ibero-American Network for Human Rights. Please welcome them and with us. So we can start with Sige. She'll talk about her program and we'll take.
Hi, I'm Sige Calderon. I'm a physician. I co-direct Refugee Health Alliance, and Rebecca gave us 60 seconds to describe our project, which is a little impossible, but I'll try. Oh, it ended, no? Yeah. Okay. So my project's called Empowering Resilience. And it's about building safe spaces for people who are waiting in RHA's clinic, in Refugee Health Alliance Clinic, which is a free clinic for migrants located in the Tijuana, next to the canalization of the Tijuana River. So it encompasses a lot of different types of populations that are in the context of mobility. So not only just families from everywhere in the world, we've had people from 36 countries, but also deportees who are a very invisibilized population in Tijuana. So we also, in Empowering Resiliences, I'll end in a second. It also tries to build, through different types of levels, change that will be permanent. So not just doing a workshop that we also did for our staff to teach them about social justice and how to develop ¿cómo se dice? Trauma-informed care and intercultural competence, but also trying to affect and build peace, since the individual part of the persons, then some community, then trying to build peace through these workshops also in universities. I went to talk about all of this, how to treat migrants in medical schools, and we hope that it will have an effect in the future by me through the Kroc School intervening in this different levels. So I hope that rounded it. Sorry.
Thanks for having us. I work with a program called Via Migrante, and we work on the sustainability on the shelters through different programs that work with the self-sufficient of the communities, and every community is different. In particular, what I did with the Border Fellowship is that one shelter started having a migrant kitchen from migrants to migrants, just helping out with food security. That started in the camp called El Chaparral, which was in the San Isidro port of entry. After that, they decided to continue the migrant kitchens, and we've provided more than 30,000 meals in the almost 3 years that we had them. And the idea is that this migrant kitchen will become a catering business for the economic sustainability of the shelter, and also provide food security of the shelter. We also have mental health in this shelter, and also it gives visibility to the migrant community, which is, in this particular shelter, is an inclusive community. So that's what the idea of the migrant kitchens in Tijuana.
Okay, my English is not very good right now, so Rebecca is going to translate. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, soy su director académico en Baja California en las escuelas normales y trabajo con casi 3,000 profesores que van a trabajar con niños y niñas.
He's the vice principal at the school I mentioned that trains school teachers, and he works with around 3,000 students.
Que van a ser maestros de niñas y niños que vienen de familias deportadas, migrantes. El 96% de estudiantes en Baja California vienen de Estados Unidos en las escuelas de educación básica y vienen con mucha vulnerabilidad, violencia debido a la deportación y a condiciones de peligro que tuvieron en el proceso o en el tránsito hacia Baja California.
So out of these 3,000 students, a big portion of them will have migrant children from different backgrounds in their classrooms. And from previous evaluations that they've made, 96%, ¿no?
96%
de los niños
de
que
los inscritos en educación básica.
So 90% of children that were evaluated that came from migrant backgrounds were exhibiting high rates of trauma, depression,
Y un retroceso educativo.
and difficulty in engaging in their schoolwork and advancing in their schoolwork.
Sí, en el estado de Baja California tenemos casi 47,000 niños que vienen de diferentes países y que están inscritos en educación básica, preescolar, primaria y secundaria. Nosotros con el proyecto tratamos de dar las herramientas necesarias para trabajar con procesos de inclusión para romper cadenas de violencia.
So we have about 47,000 children in Baja California in basic education level that are in Baja California that come from different countries and different migration backgrounds. So his program is looking at students who are studying to be school teachers right now and training them how to provide culturally adequate education for these children.
Y finalmente lo que buscamos es potencializar los procesos de inclusión para que ellos puedan tener el mismo nivel que los otros estudiantes nativos.
When the support that they need to can be able to integrate into the same level as their peers.
Thank you.
See, I'm gonna do it in Spanish, sorry, but it's easier for me to use 60 seconds on this. So, lo que yo trabajé fue un curso en línea para periodistas que trabajan el tema de migración. ¿Sí?
So Marga is developed an online course to train journalists and communication students on how to report on migration issues in a more ethical and balanced way.
I really believe that education is one of the most powerful tools to change the world. So, and journalists are people who really have an impact in the societies. So if we are able to give a little rise, we can make big changes. So right now it's running the first course in a Spanish version. The course is in English and Spanish. And now we're running the first course. I was in Spanish. Está corriendo el primer curso. El curso involucra personas académicas de organismos internacionales como ACNUR, OIM, y periodistas. Y la idea es brindar información sobre, es un curso corto de 4 semanas. It's not a very long course, but 4 semanas. And the idea is to give them some information about the context, the actual context of immigration in the region, and then give them some elements of human rights, política migratoria from Mexico and the U.S., and better practices in journalism. So this is it, and thank you very much, and I really want to thank Rebecca and all the staff of this project to be able to support the project. So thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Calderon. My organization is named Red Iberoamericana Pro Derechos Humanos, like Ibero-American Network or something. Yeah, and for human rights. For human rights. And my project is named They Are Aquí. They are here. It means because we went to the papers and all the information, public open information from the both governments, Tijuana and San Diego, and we found out how many, well, we are finding out how many feminicides and hate crimes to LGBTQ people are committed in Tijuana and San Diego from 2012 to 2022. And we want to give this information to organizations and activists so they can lobby their rights knowing the numbers, because in Mexico, most of the governments are totally say that they're non-feminicides. In the last year, Baja California reported like 8 or 12 feminicides, which is ridiculous because we have more than 112. The numbers are ridiculous when they're gave by the government, and when the social, political or social organization give them the numbers. So we have a platform online where you can find from districts where the feminicides or hate crimes happened. So you have them now in a map that you can consult, and we are hoping to print the information and give it away to the organizations in Tijuana. There are we lack most of the information. Most of the information of hate crimes is in public spaces, but you have to go to the San Diego open information page, and you have to really travel through the information. It's not just like there where it was supposed to be. We wonder how transparency works in Mexico and United States, and we're not like in a very different level. Well, I know it's tough to know, but and that's it.
Carla?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me all?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Carla Ulloa from Casa del Migrante in Tijuana, a shelter that has been helping the immigrant community since 1987, providing essential assistance such as bed, food, clothing, and medical services, but also legal and psychological services, educational assistance for children, and job placement assistance. That is what this project with you was about. The employment program helps migrants who arrive in the city of Tijuana and stays at this shelter, Casa del Migrante, to access to a stable legal job that has been under an inspection filter that ensures that the person would not suffer discrimination, harassment, or abuse for being a migrant. The project allows us to accommodate people more efficiently by providing initial assistance so that the person only has to worry about getting to work, assigning the person based on the previous work experience for a job that has been previously verified as a secure job by the employment program manager. And it also allows us to have a follow-up with the companies and the employers so that the jobs continue to be available for other people that comes to the shelter once the previous person that was placed in that job stops working because they choose to leave the city or they want to change a new job, which we also happen to have to find the second job. And in this way, we hope these people to begin their independence and start their financial stability.
Carlos?
Gracias, buenas tardes. Por favor, Rebeca, si nos ayuda a la traducción. Las comunidades a lo largo de la historia han tenido un vínculo muy estrecho entre los ríos y los mares.
So communities along history have had a tight relationship to bodies of water like rivers and oceans.
Tijuana y San Diego tenemos al río Tijuana y al Océano Pacífico.
And Tijuana and San Diego share bodies of water like the Tijuana River and Pacific Ocean.
Desafortunadamente, en algunas poblaciones a lo largo de el río Tijuana están en una espiral de deterioro ambiental y de inseguridad.
And unfortunately, some communities along the Tijuana River are in a spiral of insecurity and ecological degradation.
El presente trabajo, la beca, contribuyó a documentar y generar un cambio positivo específicamente en la comunidad del Arroyo Alamar o el Alamar Creek.
Y, sorry, this project is what he did with his project is that he's trying to document what is going on in a portion or a section of the Tijuana River called the Alamar Creek to map out what he's saying about insecurity and ecological deterioration of this area.
La meta es volver a o rehabilitar el espacio natural y construir el tejido social de esa comunidad. Gracias.
With the intention of taking back that piece of land that's been deteriorating, it's insecure, and rebuild societal fabric and that. So what I'd like to do now is to ask some general questions for our fellows. I'm gonna do it in Spanish first and then I'll translate the question. Las preguntas las voy a hacer primero en español. Son preguntas abiertas, cualquiera de ustedes que quiera contestar. La primera pregunta es, desde sus trincheras, desde su punto de vista, ¿cómo ven la situación de la frontera, lo que ha pasado en los últimos 5 años, cómo ha impactado el trabajo que cada uno está haciendo con respecto a construcción de paz o disminución de violencia? So the question is, from their vantage point and their work, what in their opinion has been going on in the border over the past 5 years that has impacted their work and what they're doing to build peace and decrease cycles of violence around the border.
I can talk a little bit about that. Well, RHA started in 2018. We were an organization that accidentally appeared because we were a lot of doctors, students, nurses that bumped into each other in shelters. In 2018, a big thing happened in the Mexico-U.S. border. Caravans started to come over. Caravans of thousands of people, but the difference was that these people were families, children, pregnant women, and this change between what was the typical way that people used to think about migration in the U.S. Mexico border was single young men. So these were the shelters were prepared to accept young men, single and able-bodied, without sicknesses. And the services around Tijuana were, the only free clinic that existed in Tijuana was Pero en Casa, practically, where Rebecca used to work. And the need was extreme. People, thousands of people living in baseball camps where it rained in the cold of California's winter, families, little children, people dying. And these caravans were trying to come to ask for asylum in the US. So these people were asylees that walked from Honduras, most of them in 2018, upwards to Tijuana. So if this issue of people trying to look for a better, not issue, this condition that's happening, that's not an issue, it's not a problem, because migration always happens and it will keep happening. So it started in 2018 and it's only gotten worse. And it's gotten worse from the perspective of securitization. Help. Securitization. That's a hard word. But the concept is that both governments and the world is starting to see migration as a security problem and not as a humanitarian issue. So a lot of different politics have come up in the U.S. and Mexico to try to block asylum, now in Mexico and block asylum in the U.S. and to try to block people from coming up upwards to the north. Now people are crossing jungles that you have to walk 4 days through them to just get to the Central America and then come upwards towards Tijuana. It's the condition that's been happening since 2018 to now. It's just worse. And the thing is that people are starting to look away from this issue, this condition, because the world is really bad right now. But right now, here, like 25 minutes from here, there is a humanitarian issue happening. There's people dying in between. Just this week, a person died in between the fences in Tijuana. There's people dying every day in shelters, people that need medical attention, that want to cross to the US because they don't have access to medical attention, because they're being persecuted even in Mexico. So the persecutions have come upwards to affect northern cities, and it's just gotten really, really bad. In conclusion.
Yeah, what CK is saying is really true. If we don't understand the big changes that are happening in the immigration issue right now in our region, we have the most big migrant corridor in the world. And if we don't understand what type of migration, and one of the things that we are trying also in the course is to understand if you treat or name a migrant like a migrant, you are not giving them the international protection as a refugee, as a seeking of refugee or asylum. So everything is different. It's not a migrant problem right now. It's a humanitarian problem. So not the government, not the press, not the society. We're not understanding the dimension of this. And if we don't change this, it's really hard to confront it and to resolve it in the best way for everyone. So yeah, I think first understanding and having the right information is one of the most short ways to get some peace, at least.
On regards on violence against women with the pandemic, most of the Mexican women that were suffering a little machismo in their homes or in their works, it increased. And the numbers of feminicides increased. And the numbers of girls being raped by their own families increased. So we know a lot of cases that happened in Tijuana, that the guy killed the wife in the house and buried her in the backyard. So the family is looking for her and she's in the same house. She was supposed to be alive, but on the backyard. So this is the kind of data we want to make visible so we can prevent these feminicides and hate crimes. And also we are trying to make the governments of Mexico and United States in this case, Tijuana and San Diego, work together, because they work together on issues like migration, drugs, but they don't see this with a gender perspective, and we do, and we try to give it to them. Even like we go with the politicians, and you want our advisory, you can get it free, I'm here, like just like that, no? And that is how with Nancy, that's over there, she's my partner in crime. We did this project together.
Ahí ustedes me gustaría agregar algo sobre los últimos 5 años.
Por ejemplo, en esta relación binacional, las playas de San Diego no se pueden disfrutar con un impacto también económico. Eso lo vemos muy evidente en la playa, pero tierra adentro también hay otros problemas que no son fácilmente visibles, ¿no? Pero sí se ha incrementado la violencia en todas sus gamas, desafortunadamente.
I was talking about over the past few years, there's also been an increase in pollution around the Tijuana River. We're seeing the impact in San Diego and the beaches here as well. And his project tries to also make light of the social problem that goes along with the environmental problem and how that impacts the region on both sides.
Well, as a person who has worked in shelters, we have seen how this change of the immigration fluency, I don't know if that will be the word, has changed the city, has changed how shelters also work. 5 years ago, Casa del Migrante only received mail. Mostly of them were deportees, and well, these were people that have been between 10 to 25 years in prison in the United States and were released in Mexico, not deported. They right to Casa del Migrante, and Casa del Migrante worker also as this, I don't remember the word, but like this house, when these people come and they start to like learn how to be in society again, they have a new job, they start to do a new life. And on how the immigration has changed, we have at least Casa del Migrante has been changing in how they help the people. No? We went from helping just only men to helping men with minor children, to helping families, to helping families, alone male, alone woman, LGBTQ plus community, and we try to the help that we give them is for them not to end up in the organized crime, or people that we know that want to hurt them, to want to exploit them, they want to take advantage of them. And also that has been a risk for the people that works with the immigrant community or vulnerable people, because we start also to be targeted by these people that wants to hurt them or want to take advantage of them, because we are not letting them to take the advantage of the immigrant community. So that's also a change that has been happening, not only the immigrant community, but also the people who tries to help them tend to be in danger. But at the end of the day, we need to keep helping these people because they are sort of invisible, or for the governments, or they don't want to see them when they are there with begging for help.
Sí, las escuelas en Baja California, desde preescolar, primaria y secundaria, han tenido una evolución de 5 años atrás hacia ahora, porque ahora tenemos estudiantes que vienen de Ucrania, de Haití, de países donde migran por la violencia o por la guerra o por la falta de alimento o las condiciones de pobreza. Entonces llegan aquí a Baja California con la intención de cruzar la frontera a Estados Unidos, pero no lo logran. Y entonces llegan a las escuelas de educación básica con procesos de trauma, de violencia, no saben leer en español, no saben muchas veces hablar en español. Y entonces para los maestros es un reto muy fuerte, porque la primera barrera es el idioma, en donde no hablan nuestros maestros la lengua de Ucrania, la lengua de Haití, la lengua de Estados Unidos. El inglés no lo hablan, aunque estamos en frontera, y entonces es un problema, primero, la barrera de comunicación. Después, nuestros maestros desconocen cómo trabajar con estos estudiantes que tienen trauma psicológico muchas veces y que no logran cubrir los estándares de aprendizaje por todo este recorrido. Eso ha incrementado a partir de los 5 años, que tiene la influencia de las caravanas y que también vienen de las guerras y de otros países de la violencia como Centroamérica. Entonces, tenemos ahora 101 nacionalidades de diferentes países, niñas y niños inscritos en educación básica.
So over the past 5 years, there's been a huge increase of children from different nationalities, talking about 101 different nationalities right now enrolled in basic education in Baja California. And usually there are people fleeing from wars like Ukraine, like natural disasters of political instability like Haiti, Central America. There's a huge language barrier with people from different nationalities, even people that come from the U.S. Families that are children from people who've been deported. They don't speak Spanish, they don't speak the language. Teachers don't either. There aren't enough resources to bridge that gap, and most importantly, there aren't enough resources to be able to provide children with enough support for all the psychological implications, like the trauma, the suffering, and everything that they endured during their journey. So this is an issue that's been growing and growing over the past years. So it's been really overwhelming for teachers and for schools. And I mean, over here we're talking about children and families that are stable enough to even enroll their children in schools. That's not even mentioning all the children that are still in shelters, and they're being enrolled in school, never haven't been taught to read or to do math. So it's difficult in a system that's already with a lot of resource constraints to be able to work with this. So his program tries to address this.
So I think that 5 years ago, in 2018, I wasn't even working with migrants at the time. And the thing that I saw 5 years ago is that I didn't thought Tijuana was discriminating because we are a city of migrants, national migrants. And when the caravan arrived, it just realized that we are super discriminadores.
Stupid.
Yeah, it was just beyond my understanding, my belief. So it just changed my perspective and just changed my course of action and my course of work. That's why I wanted to start working with migrants, and I wanted to learn more because I didn't know either, and not knowing makes you as well discriminador. And I just wanted to learn more and help out as much as I could. And I realized that migrants are resilient. I've been learning more with them than I would ever learn in a class. So I think that helped me a lot and change the way I am. And I think most of us experience the same thing.
I myself just wanted to add that I think also the landscape of even programs like this probably looks very different right now than it would have 5 years ago. Most of our applications for this program in the past years that I've only seen them 2 times, but most of them have to do with work with people who are migrants, refugees, asylum seekers. I used to work at an NGO. I mentioned I worked at a free clinic, and the type of population we saw was very different. It changed so dramatically over the past 5 to 7 years. And I tried to make it as a diverse and balanced group as I could regarding the issues and different backgrounds of the people of the fellows. But time and time again, it has to do with issues of, the issues of human mobility, migration. I mean, Tijuana is like that, the region is like that. Whenever there's anything going on in the world, they're bound to head for Tijuana at some point or another. One of the people in the shelters working in Casa de Luz, the program that Aida was working, her program is at, mentioned something I thought was very curious and very true. It said we're like the barometer. If we start seeing people from Ukraine even before there was news about the war heading out, right? Or so whenever we get people from a different nationality in big numbers, we're looking at the news and seeing there's something happening in this region because they're here in Tijuana for a reason. Most of them are fleeing from something. So it sometimes is very overwhelming to make these big changes and try to do things like Javier is doing, just try to put out big fires with very little resources. So that's why I'm especially impressed with all of their work. So my next question, mi siguiente pregunta, es ¿de qué modo consideran que su trabajo disminuye o ayuda a esta causa a largo plazo? Y si no hubiera ninguna barrera de recursos, ¿qué es lo que les gustaría hacer con este trabajo? ¿A dónde irían? So the question is, how do you envision that your work changes, has positive impact for change in the long run, while you do what you do? And if there were no, if resources weren't an issue, an object, what would you like to do with your program? How would you expand it or change it?
Okay. Well, I developed my project with the look towards the future, looking towards the future. And I don't know if maybe because my perspective as a physician, I don't like to just do primary interventions. I want them to, so you can see changes in the future or prevent sickness in the future. So when I started to do like the last reports and the poster and everything that you'll see later today, I tried to put it like in a public health perspective, how the different interventions that I developed in my work with this project will affect in the future. So I did interventions with migrants in my clinic. I gave them little safe spaces. We call them as peace corners, where they could have 15 minutes of time alone with tea and cookies. But those 15 minutes were the only ones that they had alone in a very long time, because there's no place to be alone while you're living in shelters. So that, and these peace corners have a lot of bibliografía, a lot of science behind it, that it really affects how people act towards their families. It prevents intrafamiliar violence, and it's good for kids too. And in regards to, I also gave patients in the clinic workshops for interpersonal communication, tools to tolerate stress. And we told them about different types of resources available in Tijuana. So I think that telling people how to act towards stress will have an impact, especially in little children, even though I didn't give the intervention to children. Because if you have parents or caregivers that aren't that much stressed, it will prevent how you are treating the young people in the family. And ¿cómo se dice? Eventos adversos de la infancia. Adverse child effects. We can prevent those. And those will prevent people from getting sick in the future. These kids, if they're not suffering as much violence in shelters, at least by the parents or their older siblings, they'll have better lives in the future. But also the people that got the workshops in how to communicate better, how to de-escalate conflict. And that was really important, especially for people who live on the streets in Tijuana, because police violence is a really big issue. So I hope that this will help them to prevent conflict with cops. I hope if I had a lot of money, I would eliminate cops. Let me talk a little further. I also gave workshops to the staff in my clinic. People think that medical doctors, nurses, people who work with migrants know what trauma-informed care is or culturally competent care is, but they don't. Some of us have the privilege of have been able to study it. But I saw that a lot of my doctors were doing these type of discriminating in the medical setting, and I wanted to stop it. How do I stop something by doing something that I know how to do? So I taught because I'm a professor, and I taught them how to do things differently. But I also, since I teach in the medical school, I wanted to intervene there as well. So I taught a couple of conferences there, and that helped people to just open their eyes to what is needed. So, like, how do I see this affecting in the future? I think that by making medical providers better, making them better people, they will treat people better. And that's just like logical, no? And by giving people places to drink some tea and be alone, they'll treat people better, but they'll also be able to fight for their asylum cases, for their lives better. And as preventing sicknesses and diseases and more violence, we will affect people in all over the world as well, because when people, some of them will get asylum, you'll get them here in the US, but some of them will go back to where they were. And I think these workshops will help them also have better lives. And if I had enormous amount of money, I told you I would abolish the police, then I would make these classes mandatory to all medical schools, but also nursing, social work, psychology. It isn't supposed to be just a workshop, a 2-hour workshop. I think it should be like a year in these types of school at least. But trauma-informed care, also a psychological first aid, which I also taught, they can be used in everywhere, even as you give food to people in shelters, or you give them medical attention. It should be like learned by everyone.
So sorry, just for a little bit, we can continue there, but we're almost out of time, and I wanted to have a little bit of time for questions in the audience if you have. We can talk more about this in the reception, but just wanted to see if anyone here had any questions.
because so much of it comes down to communication and learning about the situations, I wanted to hear a little bit more about the journalism program, because you know, they are the vehicle for which both lawmakers and others gather that information, and different NGOs. And is there a school that has been developed, or I'm just curious as to how this program is?
For journalists, we don't have a school in Tijuana. We have a communication school who teach you how you use a camera and go and record an event, and how communication theories and things like that, but not really journalism. So we have two communication schools, one public and one private. One is the Jesuitas, Jesuits, and the other one is the public school. Both are communications, but they are not really training for journalists. So most of the journalists in Tijuana, I think they are like self-taught, or they come from another countries or areas from Mexico. Some of them take courses in San Diego, for example. We also have journalism from San Diego, and who are right now we have people who are working with Hispanic newspapers or media, but the version in English is trying to get the other people. No? I don't know how it's going to be the experience with the English version, because all of the experts who are giving the lessons, they are Mexicans. So it's their English. We are not translating with subtitles or something. It's them talking in English. And that's something that I really want to do, because I really want the people who get the course in the English version being explained by Mexican people who's working with the topic. So I don't know how it's going to happen with that. I'm really concerned. Next year we will know about that. But no, we don't have a professional school. But I think, and what I'm discovering right now with these 87 people, we have people from Costa Rica, from Colombia, from U.S. and from Mexico right now in the 87 participants. And they are really concerned. They are really concerned about three things. One is get capacitation on migration issues. I mean, it's really an issue for them. The other thing is their security, they're safe, because migration is taught by the crime, the organized crime. So it's a risk. And the other thing is to understand the actual context. So my idea and what I would like to do is to continue these courses, but specializing in different issues of migration. This is like como una pincelada. How do you say that?
Brush.
Like a brush. But I really would like to make a course for every one of the topics. No one, whoever works with niñas, niños, y adolescentes, with kids and young people, with women, with, I mean, the different situations that they as journalists can confront. So I hope I respond to your question.
It's an online course. Oh, sorry, just wanted to clarify that it's an online course and it's available or free to anyone who wants to take it. So the Spanish version is finished now. No,
it's running now.
Or is running now, the first iteration of it. And she's working on translating to English. But she developed everything from scratch during this past year.
I think because I studied communications and she did as well. I love her program and her initiative, just because the sensitivity also of journalism, it's just horrible. Like they go and they do not respect the migrants. They put the camera in their faces. They
Use a real
They use real name, they caught kids on camera. So this is something that they really need to work on, and I think what Margaret is doing is just amazing, and it will help with the sensitivity of how they put the information to other people.
Thank you.
Quería ver si podrían compartir como un sueño que tienen para la frontera, o sea, de su perspectiva de su trabajo, o sea, grande, chico, lo que sea, su imaginación, si cada quien puede compartir un sueño. I asked if they can share like a dream they have for the border region, big, small, imagination is the limit, so.
So my dream is a binational human rights museum in the border. So we could have like interchange experience. Yeah, interchange experience with people from the border, migrants from everywhere we can go, and also have like where we could share food and dance and talk about our cultures, because that's a way, like, some of us think that migrants can be accepted, integrated, and feel happy.
Well, my dream will be like to understand that we are sharing one region and that we can work together from both sides of the border to make this place of the world better. We have a lot of resources, no? The immigration gives also a lot of possibilities to understand other cultures, to know, to try foods, to try traditions. And if we involve that and make them part of our lives, I think we can make a better region for everybody on both sides.
Mi sueño es que todas las niñas, niños y jóvenes sean felices en Baja California, sin importar su origen, su situación legal o la condición en la que llegaron a Baja California. Y que los maestros podamos tener sus máximas capacidades a partir del reconocimiento cultural y lingüístico de estos niños, niñas y adolescentes.
My dream is that all children, regardless of their background, children in general, regardless of their background in Baja California, live happy, peaceful lives, and that teachers can develop all of the capacities needed to fulfill these needs in order to have a more peaceful and inclusive region.
For me, I think it would be a safe, just life for everybody. It doesn't matter where they're from, just to have an opportunity and to live with human dignity.
My dream. I dream that everyone in the world can move if they want to, can stay safely in their places if they want to, and that borders don't exist.
Imagine
And abolish the police.
Carlos?
Gracias. Entre la pregunta de Rebeca y esta última de los sueños, pues básicamente es como una pesadilla a veces. Construir paz en 3 ejes. Detener la violencia estructural, rehabilitar el arroyo y reconstruir el tejido social.
So he says that it's really more like a nightmare right now, but his dream is threefold: to eliminate structural violence, to rehabilitate the creek, the part of the river that he's working on, and to rebuild societal fabric.
Well, my it's more like a dream or something that I'm not sure if someday could be possibly be true, but it will be like to end any kinds of violence, the oppression, that people can live their lives freely, like without fear, without fear of not speaking the language and be treated different of because they don't like who the society established that they need to like and the people that comes to the border, either if they want to stay in Tijuana or go to the United States, that they be able to do what they want to do, like have a good job that allows them to have the enough financial income to rent a place or buy a house, and just start living without the fear that I see every day that these people live with, that they have to watch over the shoulder because they don't feel safe anywhere. So that would be like my dream.
I got one more, and that is with the education. You can tell I'm from an educational background, but it's very different teaching teachers now than it was, because you've got to get this multi directionalism, disciplinary effects. You can't just do reading, writing. And I wondered whether you had models for teaching that do not depend totally on language, but students can learn through music, through art, through activity as much, and still get some of those skills. And there's a place I knew of one in particular, I know there's more than that, on this side of the border that really is addressing those issues. And I can get the name of it for you. It might be interesting to have them as somebody coming in and explaining how they do that. And I'm hoping that particularly music is integrated into the teaching.
Yeah, that's very important to us, how to work based on art, for example, because we have preparation, we have a course for two courses for future teachers, and art is very important because it's a way to express their feelings because they don't speak the language. They don't speak Spanish, for example. So art is part of this preparation as a strategy for future teachers. And I will be very happy to share that.
We're out of time, but we're welcome to keep talking with the fellows at the reception. Thank you.